Yeah, take your time.
I'm not going to mess this up this week.
Did you mess it up last week?
It was actually fun. It was funny.
I think I messed it up.
A little bit, but it was funny, dude.
Let's see.
But I know you guys can do it. You guys have read those things a million times.
All right. Well, we are live on YouTube.
Hey, everybody. It's Dale Jr. and appreciate everybody for tuning in to Ask Junior, presented by Xfinity. And you've sent all your questions in to Xfinity Racing on Twitter, and Hannah's going to go through them. But Mike's here. Everybody's here today, and we're excited to have guest Denny Hamlin come on the show. Denny's not been here yet, but we'll be here in a bit. And obviously, as a car owner, we haven't talked to him about that experience. And he's definitely outspoken, got a lot of opinions and ideas about the sport and the direction of the sport. We're going to talk to him about all that. And obviously, running second in the All-Star race, he was animated about how that all went down. So we talked about that in our Dirty Air segment earlier in the show. And Denny will give us his thoughts. But looking forward to answering some questions here on the Ask Junior segment. Let's go, Hannah.
We got a ton of people already joining us on the chat, but this one was one that was pulled from Twitter on hashtag AskJunior from Higgy. It says, this is kind of previewing Coke 600, but it says, with all of the NASCAR Salutes initiatives happening this month, it got me wondering, what's the most memorable or impactful sponsor appearance or special events that you have done during your carear?
Oh, man. That's
Tough
a great
one.
question. I mean, it is a good question because and Mike was probably there for half of that. I think some of the more fun appearances or things you get yourself into were with we just did one with Unilever, but we worked with military over the years in the Navy and National Guard, and going on aircraft carriers or drove a tank one time. So, I mean, getting to do stuff like that with the military is so fun. Going out to a firing range and seeing how all that works and shooting a lot of different guns and stuff like that. I mean, some of that stuff is, you're with the experts and they're showing you how the tank works and how to drive it and move it around. And never thought never thought I'd ever get the chance to drive something like that, or and to go down in the aircraft carrier and see how all that works and how they function, and live aboard a ship like that is just insane. Going out on the flight deck and trying to imagine. We actually landed.
Well, if you remember, we landed. The feeling of landing on an aircraft carrier and getting launched off of an aircraft carrier is nothing that can be replicated anywhere else, right?
Right.
But do you remember when we landed the first time, we missed the rope and we had to pull back up?
I don't remember that.
I do.
Oof.
I've even got it on video.
Nope.
I've even got it on video. Now, the word on the street was they did that on purpose.
Of course.
But that don't make you feel any better. You're messing with my life here. But we came down, and it's like there's no windows. We're in a cargo plane. Remember that? Like
Yes.
It's not like it's you get to see. So you just kind of feel the plane kind of maneuvering and getting in position, and then it's like wham, and it's like starts pulling back up, and it's like, did we really just freaking miss? We missed the cable, and then we landed the second time, and by that time it was a hot mess. But I would say that was an amazing one. That's the first thing that came to mind. But you've also flown with the Blue Angels, which I mean, like, how you going to go? That's got to be up there.
Did you pass
right?
out? Because I feel like
No,
everyone
he-
passes out.
Yeah. So on the in the video, it's on YouTube where I blacked out for a couple of seconds. But one of the interesting things about that is, so we're flying around forever. Like this is like a 30-minute flight. It felt like, and he turned. We did a big bank at 10,000 feet or 7,000 feet, and same G's and we replicated that bank at 500 feet, the same G's, right? And he was showing me this. He's like, look, man, this one up here at 7,000 feet, we're gonna do about 6.5 G's or 5 G's or whatever, and right around there is when you start to pass out, or some people start to pass out. And so we go into this bank and we're kind of going and going and going, and there's these exercises you do to try to keep blood from going down in your legs, you got to try to keep the blood up in your body and in your brain. And I don't know how that works, but and I don't know if I was doing it right, but we're up there at 7,000 feet doing this turn, and I was fine. And we get out of the turn, and he's like, you didn't get close to passing out? No, I didn't get close to passing out. He's like, okay, we're going to do the same thing down at 500 feet. And I passed out. And so doing, the altitude, it's more dangerous or more likely to black out at that lower altitude, which is wild because, the pilots have to understand that, right? When they're flying around and doing things, and I guess it comes second nature to them because they do it so much, but you got to be so aware of all those little nuances about flying a plane like that, that doing that turn, 180-degree turn at 5 or 7 Gs at 500 foot will knock you out, whereas up at 7,000 you're way much better off. And he turned it upside down. We're going across the ground, flying super fast. It seemed like a couple hundred feet. He turned it upside down, and we went up and over a mountain peak, I'm looking out, the mountain goes right by it was like I could reach out and touch it. It was so crazy. And anyways, man, it was fun. I got to go to boxing matches with Budweiser. Those were amazing because I was I'm still a boxing fan. Kind of looking for a fighter to pull for these days, but all the guys that I pulled for are long retired. But it was great to go to a boxing match and experience, all that. The excitement of being in an arena like that and a fight actually happened in front of you. It's pretty cool to see it in person. Lot different energy than in your living room.
Yeah.
Whew, you're talking about like the G's and being upside down. It literally gave me goosebumps, made me queasy thinking about being upside down.
Yeah.
So we covered a lot of this in the beginning of the show, so the listeners will definitely have to tune in to listen to stuff about the All-Star race. But Pat Clark asked this in the chat, and I think it's actually a good question to kind of further that. Putting yourself in Ryan Blaney's shoes after that caution flies, thinking you won the race, how hard is it to refocus, knowing that, you'd already let your guard down, you wanted to celebrate? How hard is it to re-rack all of that focus to try and do a one-lap shootout in that scenario?
Well, I talked to Ryan, and he just said that he, the anxiety and nerves were through the roof. You got the initial shock, you got this elation first that, man, I just won this race, $1 million, All-Star race. And, here's a guy who has been waiting for this moment, this big win. He's all year long kind of been trying to find his way to victory lane. He's won one of the biggest races of the year. And instantly, seconds later, you get that taken away from you. Like you finally got this thing, this thing in your hand that you've been wanting, and now somebody walks up and goes, "No, not yours. You didn't win the award." and then he has to, you have to pull yourself back together. You got to regroup, and then you start, you're trying to put this window net up so he can't really start to think about a green-white checkered and, getting up on the wheel and motivating himself for these final few laps. And how am I going to perform this restart to be able to give myself an advantage? What can I do to put, take the advantage away from the guys around me? He can't even start thinking about those things or formulating a plan for this green-white checker because he's got to get this winning net up to be able to compete. He's got to get this winning net in a position to where he can have a shot to try to win the race. I mean, he's freaking out. So unfair. What an unfair thing to put somebody through in a moment like that. And then, he finally prevails. You see him in victory lane, he looks normal. I was surprised that he he physically looked like he was fine. But I don't know. I don't know where I would have went with the post-race interview had I been.
There'd have been a fine involved.
Had they been when they came to me and go, "Hey man, what's your thoughts? You just won the All-Star race." I'd have been like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Yeah. He was pretty composed.
And those are not easy to get up to. He said, I think I heard it in the radio interview. He was like, I used all of my energy. My arm was cramping up getting ready to come to the green because he was trying to lift that window net up. And they're definitely not easy to get up. You just kind of talked about wrestling or boxing, and that kind of alludes to a question that Brian Clay submitted. Said, last week wrestling was mentioned. Were you a wrestling fan? And if so, who was your favorite wrestler? It can be NWA, WCW, or WWE.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but when I was a big NWA fan back when it was on Saturday morning during you had cartoons and wrestling, and every Saturday, couldn't wait. Teresa didn't allow us to watch. I had so we'd have to sneak it in somehow, but and there were days when she was hovering too close and we just didn't get to see it. But
she didn't want you to watch wrestling?
Well, she said it made me too wild. So I had this do you remember they were kind of like, they weren't pillows, but they were like the top of a lazy boy, like the back and the arms that you'd sit on the floor and you could sit in.
A hammock, ottoman.
Is that what it?
Yeah, like a little hassock. They would
big,
call
big
them.
puffy things, though, right?
So I'm 7'10", right? Probably 4 foot tall. I had one of those, and that was my wrestling partner. And so when the wrestling would come on, I took this thing and we would wrestle in the floor of my sister's bedroom. We had a little 13-inch color TV in her room, and we watched cartoons and wrestling Saturday mornings, and I wrestled in the floor, suplexing this little pillow all over the place. And that was what was causing Teresa some anxiety, and she would ban the wrestling from television in the house. And so that's why I made the rice cake joke, is because we had no sugar in our house either. And so we had rice cakes, which plain, and I wasn't creative enough as a young kid to think out of the box and put stuff on it. But so we had rice cakes to eat. We had the Popeyes cereal, those little puffs that didn't have any sugar. But we had lots of what's in the blue packet? Not the Sweet and Low, but the other one. Equal.
Equal. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh man,
that ain't sugar.
Yeah, a bunch of Equal would make anything taste all right. But
maybe.
I know. I couldn't. I don't know what the.
What an awful life.
my childhood was interesting.
God, I wouldn't trade for that.
But
anyway, my God, the ottoman thing, that's pretty pitiful too. I mean, like, that's your best friend that you were wrestling.
Cool. I was so disappointed.
No, cool, but like you didn't have any other options.
I was so disappointed, man, because I enjoyed playing playing out the match in the floor.
Yeah. Who was your favorite, though?
Oh, okay. So
the Ottoman.
Did you have a name for the Ottoman?
Dusty Rhodes. I did have friends that lived down the street, and we made belts. Who didn't make paper belts, right? And I would go up to their house, and we would wrestle and have our matches, and we had our championship belt, and then the Mid Atlantic title, and all that. And so I liked Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA. And then Magnum TA got in that car crash, and that sucked. And so, it was just Dusty at that point. And I guess Wahoo McDaniel a little bit. He was a little before my time. But I don't know. I mean, beyond, I kind of went away from it after Dusty Rhodes left, or the NWA kind of went away. I kind of stopped watching it, and then I saw Stone Cold wrestle one time, hanging out with Tony Jr. and Tony Sr. We was watching wrestling, and I was like hooked again. So I watched it for a long time while Stone Cold was a big deal, and The Rock, and then I kind of went away. I've went away from it. I don't really watch wrestling now because there's really nobody that's compelling to me that I connect to. So, but it'll happen. Somebody will come along.
And a change of pace with this one here. This one comes from Ted Farmer, and it says, if it was 2 a.m. after a night of drinking, what would be your go-to order at Waffle House, and what are you playing on the jukebox?
Oh, I know that.
My go-to order?
Yeah.
Grand Slam?
The chicken melt is my favorite. Yeah. So it's so good. It's grilled chicken with cheese, and I get my hash browns covered in pickles.
Wait, what?
Covered in pickles?
Yep.
He ain't lying. He does.
Covered in pickles.
That's not an option.
I know. You got to
You just
create it.
No way.
You say, look, man, just put as many pickles as you can stand and put on it.
Back in about 2008, 7, 6, something like that, I had Waffle. He wanted Waffle House so much in that order. He just said that I had Waffle House programmed into my phone. Called them the usual. Like if we were picking up Waffle House, I mean, like I may steal, as a matter of fact, from that. I mean, like there was a phase. You know, you go through these phases where
for sure
we were hitting from Waffle House all the time.
Mm-hmm. So good.
And he never did deviate from that order. That was his order.
That was the order.
What's your order?
Oh, I'll just mix it. I don't have a go-to. I just do it whatever I'm in the moment. You know, whatever I'm feeling. But not him. He liked the pickles thing. I would always remember getting the pickles on the hash.
They're the hamburger sliced. You know,
they put them
like the thin pickles. Yeah,
I'll try
so
it.
Good.
I'm gonna have to be drunk to try it, but I'll try it.
It's good.
Oof.
Scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and diced.
Yeah, see, I want them plain but covered in pickles.
I just can't get over the pickle thing. I'm just not a pickle person.
Man,
Sorry.
It's all right.
That is it for Ask Junior. A lot of people though are in the chat that are going to be at the 500 this weekend, and a lot of them saying, and a lot of them saying if you're free on Friday night, I don't know if you've been there before. The Little 500 at Anderson is one of the coolest spectacles leading up to it. To check that out, we will be there as well. Watching.
Is anybody going to be at the 600 in the chat? Ultimate suite experience this weekend.
Oh yeah, if anyone's
62 people going to be in the suite.
That's awesome.
Can't
I
wait.
won't be at the suite, but I'm doing the double. I'll be at Indy for the. I'm gonna work the race for NBC at Indy, and then I'm immediately flying to the 600.
Are you really?
Yes.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's a suite if you want.
Well, I got an invitation from Marcus Smith to come to the 600, so I'm gonna hang out with him the whole day.
Hey, I wouldn't pass that up.
Perfect. Well, that is it for this week's Ask Junior.
All right, everybody, I appreciate it. Got to thank Xfinity for everything that they do for us and NASCAR. They've done so much for the sport over the years. That Xfinity X5, it's fast. I'm a customer. Like I signed up. People think that we get everything for free, Mike.
They think that?
I think they do. Like, why would you have to pay for it? They sponsor your podcast.
Yeah, that ain't how it works.
That ain't how it works. But I've got Xfinity Internet, Xfinity X5. It's fast. It's reliable. It's always. I've never had it down. I've had it for about 2.5 years now. I've never had an outage. That's pretty critical when you got baby cameras, security cameras, sound machines, and all the things that are going on around in the house. TVs, Disney Plus.
You got it all.
Oh boy, yeah, we're running something all the time, and it's powerful, it's secure, so we're really appreciative of that Xfinity X5.
That's right. Xfinity X5 delivers the speed your devices need. And by the way, everybody, we love this segment, so continue to send your questions in to @Xfinity Racing on Twitter. Just #AskJunior.
All right, thank you, Xfinity, a proud premier partner of NASCAR. We'll see you guys later. We had we're gonna have a great show for you. And Denny Hamlin's going to come on here, and he should be, he might be out there in the is he out there? Not out there yet. All right, well, soon enough.
All right.
We are off YouTube.